Good day. How are you? Amazing. Always amazing. So, what is on my mind? You know what's on my mind? Needs versus wants. And not just needs versus wants, but the verses, the in-between, the middle part. What could the middle part be? You know what it is? It's my whims. Those treats. Those little acts of indulgence, satisfaction, gratification, desires, pamper. That's what we're talking about today. These amazing things that fall in between our needs and our wants. Sometimes, most women, I saw this online, I saw the study. Most women want a hot bubble bath. Oh, Lord, yes. Of course, that is an amazing need and want. Sometimes you just need a hot bubble bath, and sometimes you just want a hot bubble bath, and then sometimes you desire it. So what are we doing today? We're talking about needs versus wants and indulgences, but I'm going to also throw into that rewards. Yes, and that's like another, I should do a whole other thing for it, but it's going to be in this. Stay tuned. Welcome back. So, diving right into it. This whole thing about needs versus wants. It always had me thinking, what is the drive on this? I know that in 1943, there was a paper, A Theory of Motivation by Abraham Maslow, who did that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And there was a lot of science criticism on it, but basically he created this pyramid that had a strong foundation, a psychological foundation for needs that required air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, and reproduction. The second tier was safety, which makes sense, personal securities, employment, resources, health, followed by the next tier, love and belonging, which is friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection, then esteem, which was respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, and then finally at the tippy top, self-actualization, which was the desire to become most of one can be. That is always very interesting because it's saying the foundation need, that piece is the strongest piece, right? We can't survive without oxygen. We can't survive without water. But what about wants? I do feel that there's a level of wants that does intertwine here with needs. Sometimes wants are looked at like materialism, and that it's not really driven by some type of hardship, more of an inner disconnect or inner discontent. But honestly, I must say, wants can also be a driver, right? I'm doing this to get to that, which can then go into your self-actualization or into your esteem or even within your loving and belonging. I want to go to that school so I could belong, or I want to go have this job so that I can feel a sense of connection, things of that nature. Or I want this alarm system so I can have security. So I do feel there's an overlap there. And although they both are very important, one of the things that I really wanted to dive into was the indulgence. Now, I remember there was a time and an article that I read about the churches that offered indulgence, and they would have a fee, and there was a whole thing about. I'm not talking about that indulgence. I'm talking about desires, things that you desire, but not want. I don't want it to be confused with want. So I want to separate that. What I'm looking at is the whim, that moment where you're like, I'm just going to have one more piece of chocolate. It's not necessarily that you want the chocolate, as something you want to get to the next step in your wants that is out of your reach. It might just be opening the door and getting the refrigerator, getting into the refrigerator and getting the piece of chocolate. That is what I call a whim, where you just change your mindset momentarily, where you kind of just want something to gratify that moment, to have that satisfaction. And that's not always entangled as a need or a want. It does fall in this overlap. So what really kind of makes me laugh about this is these are my indulgences. Like I mentioned earlier, a hot bubble bath. Oh my gosh. Sometimes it's just been that type of day, and all I want to do is put some music on, light a candle, go in the bath, and just relax. And it's the funniest thing that so many people desire this bubble bath, this feeling, this want. Do I need a bubble bath? I mean, I do have that cold feet issue, so maybe I need it. But I want it. But I need it? No, I desire it. It's different. It's just falls into a different type of category. Now, I'm going to give you another example. And I know I mentioned this earlier. Wants, needs, desires. But what about rewards? Rewards is a tool for motivation. And it's a very important tool because how you use this tool, you can get what you want. I'm going to give you this example. I always set goals for myself, multiple goals that overlap each other. I have a goal, and then I have a plan A and a plan B, my aspiration plan and my backup plan. Every goal I set, I always have my A and my B. And every goal I set always has a rigorous timeline where I say I'm giving myself from this time to this time to make that goal. And if I don't make the goal, I do not get the reward, right? And I mentioned this many times. But the reward is the most important factor. That's the driver. That is what is making me want to get there. So recently I had this goal that came true yesterday. I finally reached this goal. And I was like, all right, let me look at my notebook because all my goals, I write it out. I'm a person that I need to see it tangible. I'm visual. I like to hear it. I'm audio. I want to hear it. I also need to see it. I need to feel it. It needs to be real. It can't just be something I thought. And I always write it down because writing it down in that action makes it like, okay, I wrote it down, now I got to do it. It's more of an ownership. When I type it in the computer, I could forget the file. So my reward to this goal was a manicure. Now, we just had this whole pandemic. So I said to myself, okay, you haven't had a manicure 6 months? Wow, where can you go? How can you keep it clean? This is not something I need. This is not something that I necessarily want to do because I wasn't planning on it. But when the goal came real, I had to give myself my reward. Now, the other thing is I put money to the side to make sure my goals happen, my rewards happen. And when I don't achieve my goal, that money stays there. It doesn't go elsewhere. So I've been planning for my goals. So yesterday, I went to this beautiful spa, and they offered manicures and pedicures. And here's the funny thing, and I just to give this place a little bit of love and shine, it is in the town of Succossana, New Jersey, and it's called Luma Spa. And all this time that I have been living here, I just kind of never went there. And I don't know why, I just didn't know what it was about. Yesterday when I walked in, first of all, it was super clean. Wow. Excellent. Gorgeous. The ambiance had the music. It was beautiful. And not only that, it had crystals and lighting. And just everybody that worked there their energy was positive and happy. And even the lady that I dealt with in the front desk person, she was so nice and sweet and catering and honest and helpful. I was flooded with emotions of this experience, right? So here's another part. When sometimes you experience something, that feel-good moment, that sensation, you want to live that sensation. That's the feeling when you have a piece of dark chocolate and it's like, oh, it hits certain parts of your brain. Those type of moments tie into when you're feeling a certain way and you need to feel better. Those are your endorphins. This is your natural body saying, this makes me feel great. It's not a drug. It's not anything that's bad for you. It just makes you feel great. Your body remembers that moment. In this moment of there, I said, wow, this is the highest point. I'm walking in. This is how I feel every single time I come here. I'm going to expect this. And let me tell you, I met with a customer that's been there since the day it opened, and they spoke the same thing. They were like, we've been here since day one, and it's always consistent. And I can tell. I saw everybody doing everything they could to make sure that every customer felt amazing. Every customer was relaxed. Now, I eventually finish with my services and I go to pay and I decide, you know what, this is my new spot. I look down at my hands, my feet. I gotta say, I've been a lot of places, and no offense, I've never had this amazing, overwhelming experience. If you are in my town, please go to this spa, check it out. It's worth the trip. You go once, you'll always want to go. So that was what I did for that particular reward. Now, where do I classify this reward? Is it a want or a need? It's a satisfaction. It's a gratification. It's a pamper. It's a whim. It's a desire. It's a treat. Those fall in between your needs and your wants. So as I mentioned, some of my other treats, sometimes at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm sure there's other people out there, around 4 o'clock, you get that candy craving. For me, it's a dark chocolate. And I can't always have sugars, so dark chocolate is right up my alley. And I don't eat dark chocolate all the time, but when I have it, I keep it in the refrigerator, nice and cold, and it fills the need, but yet it fills the yearn of that want, that little treat. So it does hit both. So I call it, if it's a need and a want, it's a treat. It's a whim. It's a desire. It's an indulgence, I guess. The other things that I love is I can't have sugar, as I mentioned, but sometimes I want like a little bit. I need glucose. Your brain needs glucose to survive. You cannot just not have any sugar in life because sugar is found everywhere. And even if you try to be glucose free, it's almost impossible. The other thing is, as I mentioned, I get seizures. And part of the things that I need for my brain is at least a little bit of glucose. I've been told by many, like, if you feel this lightheadedness or you feel you're gonna have a seizure, get a like a little candy or something. But I can't have that because I have a diabetic issue. So what do? At nighttime, and there's the other thing, I don't eat past 8:30. And if I do, it's on a rare occasion. I just feel like, no one should go to bed 8:30 with food in their belly. So you need to kind of like wait to the next day. But I do have at night a peanut butter sandwich. I don't eat it in the morning. I don't eat it throughout the day, but I do have it around that time. And lately I felt like I need this sandwich. Sometimes I just want a sandwich, but it's definitely an indulgence. And sometimes I take 2 bites and then I can't even finish it because I just don't have that type of system. But that's also on my list. And my last one, and I'm going to say last because I could go on, shoes, bags, it's like an endless list, but I'm going to stop at this last one, candles. Something about candles with a certain scent during specific seasons. I desire that. I really do. Like if I'm home and right now I don't have a candle on, I'm like, okay. I mean, the house smells okay, but I need that scent. And I guess it's more of a nostalgia as it reminds me of my yesteryears, or the scent reminds me of particular happy moments. Again, endorphins. So anytime your body craves anything, it's because the last time your body had something like that, it was an exact craving or an exact moment. It filled a need. For example, sometimes when you're pregnant, you want like ice cream. And you're like, why do I want ice cream? I don't need ice cream. Maybe your body's lacking calcium. Sometimes when you're pregnant, you chew on ice. Like, why am I chewing on ice? 9 out of 10, you're chewing on ice, or you're about to eat a salami, or you're about to eat like one of these meats that I like. That's because your body's low in iron. Oh, I want pickles. That could be a potassium issue. Because remember, cucumbers, you got to really kind of figure these things out. Your body's craving these things because it needs something. And the last time it remembered it had it wasn't one of those food sources. The same with endorphins. Your memory is an amazing amazing tool in our body that we haven't even touched past 10%. So you got to understand there's things that just happen within you that you can't even explain. And that feeling of happiness has to stem somewhere, right? There's a connection there. And I think that maybe when we're babies and we're getting little baths from our parents, our mothers washing us a little bubble bath, when we become adults, when we sit in the bubble bath, we reflect on those moments. We don't think gaga goo goo, right? But we feel safe. We feel secure. We see the bubbles, the lighting. That reminds us of our mothers. I don't think that any baby, their mother was like, all right, let me wash you with this cold water shower. No way. No way. And it's funny because men, because I have 3 sons, men, I say, okay, time to go take your shower. Time to go take your shower. And I push it when they get older. But like, I know the girls in my family, they're like, I'm going to go take a bath. So we don't push it. And so it's the funniest thing. What do you do? What do you do, right? I have to laugh about these things. But, you know, I am always thinking about it and trying to figure out these little secret feelings we have about indulgences. So all in all, right, our needs versus our wants. So more about goals that I wanted to mention. So this is kind of very important, and it's kind of a self-realization that I want us to kind of tap into, but we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. So hold on. Welcome back. Welcome back. So we were talking about needs and wants and the gray matter in between. And that gray matter is our desires, our satisfactions, our whims. And how I really would describe it is, let's say you just worked out and you're like, I'm going to go and get something because I earned it. I'm going to go treat myself. Treats. This mindset, right? But we always feel like, okay, we need to kind of categorize these feelings of things that we need to have in our lives because we have to explain. Somehow, some way, there's a disclaimer out there that we need to explain to everybody why we do things. Listen, you, like me, have things in your life that you cannot change. You can't change your bills. You can't change your taxes. You can't change those things. So it has that. Those are needs. You got to pay them. They're your obligations. Your obligations fall into your needs. But then there's things like, I want them shoes. Ooh, did you see? I want that bag. Those are our cold wants, right? But you can't buy a pair of shoes and then I'm going to be like, why did you buy the shoes? You have things that you have obligation. Who am I to question you? But something in you is like, well, you know what? I got to explain these. Someone's going to ask why I needed these. No. Here's the thing. You don't have to explain it to anybody. You yourself are your own individual. Doesn't matter who you live with, what you do. What you do in your life is your business. And I think it's important that we understand this so that we can live a happier life. And it's kind of silly, but it's the same thing. And the point I wanted to mention was actually the rewards part. Rewards are very important in our life. Rewards kind of drive us, it gives us motivation. It is a huge factor in recognition, especially with like human capital management or just people management, right? Looking at how can we keep people, how can we slow down turnover. A lot of it has to do with recognition, where you can give people more money, but if they know they're going to go somewhere and they're not going to enjoy what they're doing, that might be an issue, a stagnant atmosphere. But to kind of narrow it down back a little bit, I always love to discuss goals because I found just over time in my life and coaching and mentoring people, we always drive it back to goals. Well, what do you want? How do you want to achieve that? And normally people have a plan where, okay, I'm going to go work out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get there. You really got to have to, you really need to make your plan a real foundation with the timeline and really analyze it. And there's actually a simple way that I do it. I have my goals, and within my goals, I have a plan A and a plan B. You know, that's not something that's unique, right? We all heard plan A, plan B, But for me, it's my plan aspiration and my backup plan. Aspiration, backup plan. How does this work? Let's say at the end of 10 days of working, okay, you need to have $100. So in the next 10 days, you're going somewhere, you're going to need $100. If you kind of give yourself a mental note and say, okay, with each day that passes, I'm going to put $10 to the side. If you do the math, 10 times 10 is 100, right? That's the plan A. So that's easy enough, straight arrow. That's what I'm doing. But if you set up a plan B, the plan B is your backup plan. Well, you don't even know why you need a backup plan yet. I'll explain. But your plan B is your backup plan. And what you're saying is the next 10 days, I'm going to put $5 to the side each day. You're like, well, Fanny, that don't make no sense. In 5 days, that's only going to give you $50. Hear me out. At the end of those 10 days, you'll have, if you complete it, you'll have $150. That's the idea of the goal, right? So you're giving yourself a little cushion. But here's the reality. How many people have a resolution, have a goal, and then halfway they stop? 9 out of 10 people who set up these types of goals of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to change my life and do that, the halfway point is it's a plateau. People don't usually make it past that. Maybe the top 3% make it past that point. And why? Because so many things happen. You got sick, you called out, now you only worked 8 days. There's so many things. So here's the point that I make. Let's say by the 5th day, you're like, okay, I can't go back to work. Now you only got $50, right? But here you go, right over here on your plan B. Now you got $25 there waiting for you. So now you got $75. You're closer to your goal. So either way, you could still make it. Okay, you only need to work 2.5 more days. So put the 2 more days in, and then you'll make your goal. The plan B is your backup where it cushions the fall. It gives you a little room of space. And sometimes you need that. Like if you're like, okay, well, I'm going to work out. And this is a big one with the working out. I'm going to work out, and in 30 days, I'm going to lose. Listen, you have to have a realistic timeline. Nobody can lose or do in such a short window. If you make your timeline longer, it's more realistic. But that might not hit your goal of achievement where you want to see status changes. So you have to know to alternate. So have your goal A, make sure it happens, but then also create a backup plan, a goal B. All right, hold on to that thought. We're going to take a quick break. Thank you so much. Welcome back again. I just wanted to say, just kind of in closing. So, do I believe there's anything wrong with rewarding yourself, treating yourself, giving into those whims, desires, an occasional pamper, satisfying yourself with these indulgences? Absolutely not. You have needs, you have wants, and you have to have that indulgence. You have to. I'm going to tell you why. Sometimes what happens is, like myself, I'm a frugal Fanny, right? I'm very frugal. But at the end of the day, when the Lord Almighty calls for your presence, everything you have on earth, you cannot take with you. So while you're on earth, you need to be charitable. You need to be charitable to yourself as well. You need to take care of your needs, take care of your wants, but take care of your overall happiness. Sometimes it's going to make you happy if you have that little scoop of Rita's. Have it. Why not? What are you living for? You're living for loving everybody, caring for people, but also caring for yourself. The number one, self-love. I have this thing that I say, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm an aunt, I'm a cousin, I'm a sister, I'm a friend. At the end of the day, I'm a human. And as a human, you have to love yourself. When you get on an airplane and they say, put your mask on before you help somebody. Because how can you move forward without moving forward with your own self strong, right? Strong and prosperous. The only way you can do that is if you love yourself. Now, if it's that lipstick, if it's that latte, if it's cleaning your kitchen, whatever it is, please enjoy those needs and wants and your indulgences, because I know I will on this journey of Fannytastic Life. Thank you so much for checking in. See you next time.